Buckle up for non-stop action and mind-blowing speed in the high-octane Fast and Furious 8 movie collection. Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Dwayne Johnson, Michelle Rodriguez, and an all-star cast put pedal to the metal in pursuit of justice and survival as they race from LA to Tokyo, Rio to London, and Cuba to New York City. Packed with full-throttle action and jaw-dropping stunts. Jaw-dropping stunts. These 8 turbocharged thrill rides place you behind the wheel of the most explosive film franchise in history, which goes for over 10 hours. Holy shit. So, I've recently been asked to do a video about the Fast and Furious films, and my response to that was, what the frackin' doodles am I going to talk about? There have been a lot of people on YouTube, in particular, talking about the Fast and Furious films. Hell, even Patrick H. Williams did one where he just explains what happens in pretty much all 7 of them by that stage, because the 8th one was about to be released. Which is also a thing, how, you do a video about franchises, you gotta make sure the next one in the franchise is about to come out. And in this case, Hobbs & Shaw has come out. This video will come out way too late till for me to mash those two together, but I don't really care, because it's not really the point. Because I was still asked the question of, do a video on the Fast and Furious films. And I don't know what to say. I bought this pack, this 8-pack, got it on sale. I'd been kind of meaning to watch it, because my friend Guy was like, dude, trust me, they're mental. And I always thought, as everyone says, oh my god, everyone says this, I thought they were just dumb movies about cars and racing, and only the dumb people in my high school liked it. And you know what the problem is? They're all right about that. I had the exact same experience in high school. I knew a lot of people who like these movies. I'm like, they're just dumb action films. This also includes my older brother, who isn't the dumb jock type. But he does watch a lot of dumb movies, but he enjoys watching dumb movies. He's just that kind of general audience member. And so I decided, after watching Hobbs & Shaw, that I guess I might as well talk about them, given how I'd bought and watched the whole 8-pack edition just to watch Hobbs & Shaw, because it looks so bad. And I'm like, this looks so bad, it has to be amazing. So, let's do a little chat about the Fast and Furious films. Cool. Let's look at my classic Letterboxd. To look at my list, that's right, I have a list that specifically retains my catalogue of Fast and Furious rankings. Ironically, I guess you could say this, it does not include the Hobbs & Shaw film. I will get to that shortly. So, let's take a look. I guess firstly I'm going to start off with my actual personal ranking, then I'll dive into each video, into each film. So my personal ranking is number 1. Actually, let's start from last to best. Just makes it more fun like that. So number 8, Too Fast, Too Furious. I gave it a 1.5 out of 5. All of these are out of 5-star ratings. The Fate of the Furious. At number 7, got a sweet 2.5 stars. Furious 7 at number 6. Got a sweet 2.5 stars. Fast and Furious from 2009 at number 5, of course, got a sweet 3 stars. The Fast and the Furious from 2001 got a sweet 3 stars. Fast 5 from 2011 in third place got a sweet 3 stars. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift from 2006 got a sweet 3.5 stars. That works, right? Yeah. And of course, number 1, Fast and Furious 6, or Furious 6, at 3.5 stars. Hobbs and Shaw, I actually gave it probably 1.5 stars, so I'd probably rank it maybe just... It's between... I wouldn't say it's between Fate of the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. I feel like it's... I feel like it's better than The Fast and the Furious, but at the same time... I feel like it's better than The Fate of the Furious, but at the same time, I did not like it. So let's look at my actual reviews. Let's start with number 1, The Fast and the Furious. Directed by Rob Cohen and released in 2001. What did I have to say about this beautiful film? I don't know. My review. Cool. As I like to do, I like to put in a quote from the film, a quote that I really liked. In this case, I said, for my quote, I like the tuna here. It's just a nice quote. It just really fills you with the pure joy when you watch these films. I like tuna here. I like the tuna here. It's good. It's good shit. My review, of course, is it's like a Godzilla film. You've got your fun music, you've got your loud explosions, you've got your cool stunts and cheesy monsters, in this case, cars. Oh, and amazingly bad dialogue and ADR. It's just a classic Godzilla film. Also, the main reason why I gave this 3 stars, because a lot of people are just, again, it's an iffy franchise. The first 3 are pretty meh, but then Tokyo Drift is actually better than you think it is. And then the rest of them are like, what the fuck to what the fuck. But in this case, for The Fast and the Furious, it is one of those unique movies that doesn't exist in time. I say that because it's like, the film is post-90s, of course. This is filmed in 2000 to 2001, and they're like, hey, we're not the 90s, we're trying to be suave and cool and something that isn't the 90s, so we're not the 90s. We're not the 90s. But then, they're not the 2000s either, because after 2001, everything changed. So, of course, they don't look anything like... It doesn't look anything like a 2000s or a 2001 film. It feels so out of time. I mean, yes, it is a remake of Point Break. That's obvious enough. However, it feels uniquely its own film. It's very strange. And ultimately, I don't understand how it exists. And it's quite something. It's quite a spectacle. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Hell, I expected to hate all of these, yet I still bloody bought the box set. Now let's move on to Too Fast, Too Furious. I mean, do you really want me to break down the plot of these movies? I don't need to break down the plot of these movies. I think it's pretty obvious what happens in these movies. So, Too Fast, Too Furious, directed by John Singleton. What did I say about this film? I guess, okay, let's do a brief wrap of the first one. Someone steals stuff, Paul Walker has to find out who did it because he's secretly a cop, and then they drive cars. Boom, done. Movie's over. Second film, Too Fast, Too Furious. Paul Walker is back, Vin Diesel is no more. But now he's been replaced by another bald dude, and a guy who will eventually become bald, because he has a lot of hair in this one. He's a big afro. Good on you, Ludacris. My quote, of course, for this 1.5-star film is, I'm trying to eat all I can while I can. 10 out of 10 dialogue right there. I also, for my review, it's just, I can see why they never made a sequel to Point Break, outside of the fact that they killed off Patrick Swayze's character in Point Break, which they didn't do in this one, because Vin Diesel survives at the end of the film. He just drives away a quarter mile at a time, goes to Mexico and whatever. But still, my point is that there's not really much I can say about the second film. I have seen, since watching it, a lot of people talking about the obvious homoeroticism in the film between Tyrese and Paul Walker's characters. And I guess it's obvious enough, but it's just not obvious enough. For me, it wasn't. Like, I would have, like, it's not like Top Gun where it's so on the nose, how are they not gay? But it's the same thing as Point Break. Point Break, you don't exactly need to interpret it as they're gay, but you can also interpret it as they're gay because it's like, I mean, it's kind of, it's there enough. It's enough of a bromance. In this one, there's definitely more of a bromance than in The Fast and the Furious. So I guess that's worth talking about. What can I talk about the plot? Honestly, it's the same as the first one. Paul Walker's the cop. They have to go undercover and, defeat the bad guy who's stealing stuff. And there's pretty cool stunts, as you do, These films, these two films have a really weird way of portraying the car races in particular. A lot of it's straight road stuff, and a lot of it has some weird CGI stuff. Not like the kind of CGI where you go inside the car and see the engine revving. I don't understand the point of seeing that anyway. But like, they have these scenes where they're driving really fast, and especially when they hit the turbo, and you just have the background, like, obviously like a green screen, which is like really, really fast with motion lines and everything, like it's a comic book. It's very strange. Hello, Indigo. But it's unique, but strange. Then, of course, we have Fast and Furious, because we're going in chronological order of the narrative of the films. Fast and Furious is a 2009 film directed by Justin Lin, who definitely brings quite something else to this franchise. What have I said about this film? So, this is actually the first film I ever actually watched. In the franchise, I watched Fast and Furious number 4, then I watched Fast 5 and Furious 6. This was as The Fate of the Furious was just coming out in theaters, and Furious 7 was about to be shown on Foxtel, but you had to pay to watch it. And I was like, after watching those few films, I was like, I don't really want to, but I did like Fast and Furious 6. I thought it was alright. Fast 5 was fun, but a bit slow, and then the Fast and Furious was just bad. I did not like it at all. But see, you can't skip ahead. This is why I bought this for my dad. I bought it with my dad in mind. See, every time he's tried to watch the series, he's always watched the wrong one. So he started watching Fast and Furious. I'm like, why are you watching Fast and Furious? He's like, I thought this was the first one. I'm like, no, that's The Fast and the Furious. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. So that's why I bought this. Also because he really wanted to watch Tokyo Drift again because he likes Japan, which is fair enough. And so you really have to watch this in chronological order of the narrative. The Fast and the Furious, followed by Too Fast, Too Furious, set up the characters and the type, pretty much just set up the characters. It's what you need. Because by the time you get to Fast and Furious, if you don't like the characters and you don't understand family and what's important to these films and these characters, then who cares? But then Fast and Furious is just, well, it's something completely different. It becomes this teal and orange murder mystery film where a lady played by Michelle Rodriguez gets killed off. They apparently all have superpowers now, and it's just like it's the dawn of the new superhero age for them. My quote, of course, for the film: 20% angel, 80% devil, because Vin Diesel only ever likes to have sex with Michelle Rodriguez. I'm sorry, Gal Gadot. And until you meet the cop in the next one where he actually has a relationship with... It doesn't matter. She's not important until the 8th one, really. Indy, stop doing whatever you're doing. Stop being weird. Stop it. Stop being cute. So, of course, I gave this film 3 stars, and my review was, how can you tell if a street racer died? They don't have limos at their funeral. In fact, they have colourful fast cars. It's an alright film. You really have to watch at least The Fast and the Furious, but then at the same time they do set up other characters. And of course this introduces everyone's favourite character, Han. Who, yeah, I guess you could say Better Luck Tomorrow introduced him because that was the first Justin Lin film. Doesn't matter. Watch that if you want to. I haven't. I've heard it's pretty good. I don't really care. I'll probably watch it at some stage of my life. Next one we have mostly everyone's favourite, Fast 5. where the film suddenly started becoming dogs attacking each other. Why? Now, really? The whole day you were sleeping, and now you decide to bloody play with each other when I'm trying to film. Dogs are annoying. Anyway, so of course, Fast 5, released in 2011, directed again by Justin Lin. Hello, Snoopy. I gave this film 3 stars. My quote, "Give me the damn veggies," because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is just weird in these films, but great. The Rock is a welcome addition to this mind-numbing franchise. I'd maybe rate this film a 3.5 stars, but given how mind-numbing the film is with its action and editing and ridiculous plot, I just can't find the energy to do it. Also, the overly masculine children that are driving and over-sexualizing their toys isn't very cool or admirable. So, this is where the franchise takes its turn for the better, I guess you could say. They cut down the street racing and use that more or less as like homage to its original self. They really emphasize the family nature in it, but then go into the level of over-the-top action, which is fine. It's fine, over-the-top action is perfectly fine. I just don't like it when they are too overly masculinized and just are constantly like arguing with each other as to who can beat up the other person. Because as much as it might be cool to watch them fight or race against each other, the end-all be-all result is it's gonna be boring. And we'll get there. We will get there. I'm sorry, guy, that I disrespected this masterpiece. I'm sorry, but I had to. Next up we have... yes. My favorite one. Fast and Furious 6, a 2013 film directed by your favorite Justin Lin. What did I say about this masterpiece? I gave it 3.5 stars. I also gave it a like on Letterboxd because I did like it. My quote, "Aren't you Team Muscle? Don't make me go over there and make you Team Pussy." Good old Michelle Rodriguez getting all the best lines. Oof, I love it. So, look, as I've said, it's Fast 5, but it's better. And I think that's mostly because, like, the villainous team are just cooler. They're not boring drug lords. Oh, look, it's drug lords from Mexico and you gotta do races to get the money and to defeat the people. I don't care about the drug lord crap. I don't give a shit about drug lords and stereotypical Mexico. Like, oh my god, stop it. Make something original, please. And they do. They're like, okay, bad guy's British, him and his team are like the polar opposite of the team we already have. They're all fast drivers, and guess what? Letty's alive, and she's on their bad guy's team because she has amnesia. Because that's a movie trope that still exists. And also the macho crap between, especially between, Toretto and The Rock's character is just put down to such a minimal, and I'm totally okay with it, and I'm so much happier that it's gone. So I'm still not 100% on board with, unfortunately, still not 100% on board with Tyrese and his solo comedic antics. Yes, he has some great lines, like the one about it's like, this has gone from, Mission Impossible to Mission and frickin' Sanity. Like, they're cheesy enough lines. He gets his paycheck, I guess you would say. He's not bad. I just haven't ever gotten used to liking him. But that being said, whenever he's partnered up, especially with Ludacris, who also is someone who never annoyed me, but I didn't really see the point of him, and now apparently he's a genius hacker, so alright, sure, go for it. Do whatever you want, movies. It kind of balances out well when they're this kind of tag team dynamic, like the Latino guys were in the first 4 films, who used to argue a lot with each other. They were a fun addition, but never had much personality that was over-the-top personality. They were just 2 guys who kind of bicker amongst each other. It would be funny enough, and then they'd walk away and do their own stuff. And they wouldn't do much except for drive cars. But of course, Ludacris is a genius hacker and is really good at driving cars, but then really bad at the same time. It's kind of hilarious. And then Tyrese is just has a big mouth, and they think that that's a good thing. And I don't know. It's just. But I mean, look, this film has a few good gags between the both of them, like the harpoon gag. I quite like the good old classic practical gags. Pretty much everything that they say gag-wise is bad, but everything that they do gag-wise is pretty good. Also, spoilers, of course. Rip Han and Giselle. I would have preferred that we had more time with them as a developed couple and relationship. They're just kind of just there every now and again. But then at the same time, I get what I'm given in this over-the-top, overly long series of vehicular-based heist / murder / holy shit, so many people are dying, but who cares? Because it's all about the family. He says in a so deep voice that I'm practically mumbling with my own breath. Yeah. Still, Fast and Furious 6, I'd argue, is still the best film in the franchise. Then, of course, we get my second favorite film in the franchise, which, honestly, I thought I would have just absolutely hated this movie, but I loved it. This is, of course, Tokyo Drift, released in 2006, but is now technically set in 2013, because at the end of Fast and Furious 6, in the post-credit scene, which is where we start going into serious bad guy stuff. You've already gotten your, who was it? This, what's his name? Oh, that doesn't help. I want to know what Luke Evans' character was called. They just called him Shaw, and it's like, no, this doesn't help me at all, because Shaw's the family name, not the character name, you bastards. Anyway, Tokyo Drift. It's set between Furious 6, pretty much. You have all of Furious 6 take place. Giselle goes whammy, goes bye-bye to everyone, and then Han is like, I'm sad, Ripperino Pepperino, I'm going to Tokyo, like I've been saying for the past 3 movies. And in the post-credit scenes, you have Rip Han saying, but then it turns out, nope, Jason Statham is the guy who's doing all of this. Bum, 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 bum. However, in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about franchise sequels, kind of. Instead, you get a film that's just fun. And for once, I gave a crap about the racing, because I didn't mind the racing in the first 2 films, and especially from 4 onwards, they just stop being racing films and become heist films, and then big action films, and then it's just like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I like it, but I don't like it, but I don't care. So my quote for Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift is, why don't you nice boys let your cars do the talking? It's a sweet metaphor. My review, of course, is Han will never age, Han will never die. Oh, wait. So note, this film is notoriously known for being bad, and although there are some weak elements, for example, the lead in his acting, plus the love interest, which is actually really fitting for the Fast and Furious franchise when you think about it. The lead, aka Paul Walker, for the majority of the films, and then the lead in this film, kind of dry bone acting, has some charm to them, especially Paul Walker more than this guy, and then the love interest is pretty but at least the other Fast and Furious films were allowed to let Toretto's sister, Dominic's sister, actually change and adapt throughout the movies, and you actually got to like her more. So, I mean, she wasn't unlikable, but she got better. But I actually quite liked this one more than the majority of the franchise. Though I prefer Fast and Furious 6, of course, over this film. I feel like this is a close second to Fast 5. So, of course, originally when I was writing these reviews, I'm like, I think Fast 5 is better, but I actually do prefer Tokyo Drift. But yes, maybe I've lost all my brain cells by this stage, but it was refreshing to see a seriously toned film with a sense of realism over comedic necessity and tension through characters. specifically like the final drift off, because this film is all about drifting. The main character needs to learn how to drift because he's a good racer in America, but in Tokyo they drift, and drifting is cool. Drifting, you got edge and swerve and shit. And like, I know from playing Mario that drifting is hard, but if you can become good at drifting, you are a good racer. So of course, when this film was like, hey boy, you suck at drifting, you need to learn, this is your character arc, learn to drift, make amends for your dad, become the good guy and the hero, everyone will love you. And I'm like, yeah, oh, cool, I'm on board, yeah. I care about these characters. But the final drift off, which is a good way to show how the protagonist has evolved and developed over the course of the film, but he's up against someone whose honor is at stake, because of course, the bad guy is a Japanese guy, and he's the son of he's the nephew of the Yakuza mob boss. And it's like double indemnity right there. It's like, holy crap, he's not just Japanese, and if he loses his honor, and he's kicked out of Tokyo forever, but also, his uncle's a Yakuza. That's not good, because he could get killed for being a bad driver. So, that gives us stakes into both of the characters and makes it really compelling to watch. I overly said it's a well-directed, nicely shot, and it has some software elements, but that's totally alright. And of course, Han is amazing. Thank God he's in more of the Fast and Furious films. Even though I watched this one after watching Furious 6. And it kind of made me scared, because I'm like, oh, I don't have that much longer until I can watch Hobbs and Shaw, because it was coming out like that Thursday, and I was like, I only have the Sunday to watch it, and I've got to watch the third film and the seventh film and the eighth film, because the whole point is to watch the seventh and the eighth films, and if I went in just watching 7 and 8 and then Hobbs and Shaw without watching the rest, I wouldn't understand what the hell was going on or give a shit, especially because, of course, Furious 7, Ripperino, Paul Walker. This film was directed by James Wan, interestingly enough, which I think is alright, I guess. What did I say about this film? So, I mean, yeah, alright, look. I gave it 2.5 stars. I don't care much for it. This is definitely where they were going a lot less the heart of the films and more, look, we can drive our cars through windows in giant buildings. And I don't care. Like, maybe I was just tired by this stage of watching these movies, but I know people who have binged them in all in one go and been like, oh my god, what the hell, I love these movies. But I just didn't care by that stage, because Furious 6 felt like a wrap-up. Like, Furious 5 feels like a wrap-up, but then Furious 6 really feels like a wrap-up. And then Furious 7, even though it has its, post-credits teaser, Furious 7 also feels like a wrap-up, because it's like, of course, it wraps up the character of Brian O'Connor, played, of course, by, Jesus Christ, I had a long review. Played, of course, by Paul Walker, who passed away during the production of the film. And I don't care if there are going to be 10 films in this franchise, plus however many spin-offs. But honest to God, I don't care anymore. So let's get into the Furious 7. So, my quote, of course, this time it ain't just about being fast. And my review is as follows. Oh gee. Yeah. TLDR, too much generic dumb action film, not enough Fast and Furious film. I feel like that's enough of a compelling argument, but let's go deeper. I've come to accept that I've seen the best of this franchise, and now, starting with this film, we'll see less of what gives it edge and heart. No, this has nothing to do with Walker's character, whose arc realistically finished in the previous film, just like everyone else's. This film feels like an exploitation of the characters and the audience. Yes, it has decent moments and fun, yes, it has decent moments, and it has its fun moments as well. But now it's just too dumb. The heists and action from 4 to 6 were interesting and fun, but never too over the top. And they were practical as well. Like that whole thing with the dragging around the goddamn bank vault, and that whole film, what was that, Fast 6? I think there was Furious 6. Oh, better have been Furious 6. Maybe it was Fast... Oh my god, I don't even remember. I honestly don't care. No, so that was Fast 5. Fast 5 has that big heist thing, which I still quite like, actually. I think I did give the film 3 stars, right? Yeah. Still, that whole thing is practical, for the most part. It's mostly practical, you know. And it's really fun. It's like, damn, this is cool. It goes on for a bit long, but then it works itself out in the end. But even that's a film where it's like, we're gonna set up this heist and all this elaborate stuff and really drive the hell out of it. And then they're just like, nah, fuck it, we'll just get a tank and break it out. Anyway, the sixth film has a tank, and it just goes, whew. But I had accepted it by that stage. So, back to number 7. So, yeah, the heist and the action from 4 to 6 were interesting and fun, but never too over the top, as there was always, some reality to it. Which, I know, it sounds dumb, but I think it's the practical elements that really helped. But it's what kept me interested outside of the characters. There was consequence, there was tension, even if forced or comedic. This film just wouldn't slow down and smell the petrol fumes. It just kept on going and it wouldn't take a break. By this stage, I don't care about the villains. I really do not care about the villains. Like, they don't even... The fact that they were like, oh, let's kill off Han... Let's trick it. It's like, no, Han didn't actually... Han was killed off by Jason Statham now. Okay, so Jason Statham's the bad guy, number 7. And, spoilers, he gets captured by the end. But then he comes back in the 8th one. And now he's a hero. And now he's a hero in the fucking spin-off. And it's just like, it feels like, why you just insulted your best character. And that's why franchises need to die. So yeah, I don't care about the villains, the action, the story, or even the stunts in this film. The cars flying are interesting, maybe on, first viewing or, in the trailers, but are not a convincing reason to rewatch this film if I were ever to do so. With the departure of Brian, in this case Walker, for obvious reasons, the film also departs from the fun car versus car scenes, when Dom and Shaw just literally have a head-on collision. Like, they just ram their cars straight into each other. It's not even a race. They just drive their cars right into each other, and they both just get out without a bruise or anything, and then just have a fight until the FBI show up, and it's like, what up? It's Scott Eastwood and, no, Scott Eastwood's in the next one, I think. Yeah, Scott Eastwood sucks. It's Kurt Russell, and he's like, yo, what up? I'm here to change this franchise up and make it more interesting, I guess. But still, the idea that these people could just have a head-on collision and no one dies is ridiculous. Yeah, I know what you're going to say, but in the previous film, they jumped, they had the tank scene, and they went flying, they caught each other in the air and whammed into a car window. Yes, Dom should be dead, but at the same time, that was, like, fun and actually interesting and felt like it had consequence, and, like, even Lady says, but you didn't even know that car was there, if the car wasn't there, they would have died, kind of thing. So it's like, okay, there's a grounding to it. There's kind of a reality to it that they still could have died, but now they're invulnerable. They can't die anymore. It's impossible. They just have a head-on collision, and they have a fucking fisticuffs, and no one dies. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, movie? There's not even hardly any bloodshed or anything. So yeah, so is this trying to be like a metaphor about the immortality of the spirit and that Walker's spirit lives on? Because I don't fucking buy it. And, there's no leverage of these films now. Now the characters are literally invulnerable. It's just like, I don't care. I mean, look, I like the Marvel movies as a contrast, but the Marvel movies have enough of creativity within them to keep me going. I mean, these films do too. But then, at least in the Marvel movies, people do die. And now I know what you're going to say, but people do die in these movies. Han's dead. The fucking Letty technically dies and then comes back 2 films later, Gal Gadot's character of Giselle dies, this person dies, that person dies. Yeah, but when it's your main characters who have been there for 8 fucking movies and they just aren't even getting blood, scratches, or tears anymore, I don't care. My suspension of disbelief is so far out the window. I can't see the window anymore. It's just gone. So, who would have thought it that this film would really just make me go right off the edge? What is it? So you destroy, so you destroy the one thing you had left of the fact that these people could still get hurt and there's still consequence, and then you ruin that, and then you introduce Kurt Russell, and he's like, yo, what up? I'm here to tell you what the plot is and get this film really going. And now these films are just generic action films with fast cars and big, bold men who are immortal. Yeah, no, it's not a great selling pitch. Yeah, also, why the fuck is Iggy Azalea in this film? Iggy Azalea is in this fucking movie, and she even has a whole song at the end of the credits. And there are all these, 360 angles where people are talking and, it goes around them, and then it's a James Bond thing, and all the bass drops, it's like, whoa, oh my god, we're so cool because we have random bass drops. I don't like bass drops in movies, they suck. 360 camera angles make me nauseous, especially in Hobbs and Shaw, where they're just 2 people standing still. Everything except for the land that they're standing on, the 2 people, is moving opposite the camera. It makes me want to throw up, alright? Stop doing that. Credit for some decent special effects, interesting cinematography, and the send-off to Paul Walker's character. Guy presented the counterpoint. The thing about street fights, the street always wins, which is fair enough. Yeah. So let's talk about The Fate of Furious by F. Gray Gray from 2017, the one with the submarine. 2.5 stars. Quote, I got no choice. Review, Kurt Russell giggling through each scene that he's in is worth watching this trash for. That's all I have to say. I don't care about this movie anymore. I don't care about this fucking franchise. And then, of course, you have everyone's favorites, which I don't even have here. Let me go to my diary. Hold on, let me just... There we are. Let's talk about Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, the 2019 film directed by Who Gives a Shit. Gave it a 1.5 stars. My quote, I think we should work together. Wow. My review is, get ready for this, boys. My dick isn't small enough to enjoy this film. Simply put. Honestly, I've never seen a film that I've been so bored and tired of within the first 5 minutes. The humor isn't funny, the action isn't cool or convincing, and don't even get me started on the filmmaking, because there isn't any. The editing is shit, the writing and directing is pathetic, the special effects are decent enough, it's what I kind of expected from a franchise that's getting way too much money, and it's still doing well. I feel sorry that Idris Elba was wasted in this, but I'm not against the guy getting a paycheck, he's a good actor, he deserves to be in more movies, and the fact that he doesn't get in a lot of big movies, it's he's Black Superman. The final act was so elongated and cliched and defied the logic of time, and the logic of time and nature, with the jump between midnight, where they had this cool opening to a big long fight scene, that 10 minutes later it's 3 p.m. the next day, and they're still fighting, and it's been 5 minutes, because it's set in a 9-minute period. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I understood that it's like, oh, well, for production value, it's cheaper to shoot during the daytime, but then if we have this film at nighttime for this part here, and then just do daytime for the rest of it, no one's gonna notice. And then we'll have a storm come in, and then it'll be raining and cool, and it'll be like that Superman film from, like, 3 years ago that people hated, but we really liked because we like cool movies. Yeah. Halfway through this film, people were audibly yawning. Like I watched it with Katie. Someone in the back was just like, yeah. The meathead fanboys, of course, were actually getting angry at other filmgoers for like, kind of filmgoers in the audience and my audience were getting so bored of the film that they were kind of like openly criticizing it, like laughing how bad it was. And there was a row of fanboys who were like, "What are you talking about? It's cool. Stop ruining my movie." So yeah, I just don't care anymore. This is a mind-numbing film, and I'm tired of this dumb shit. And we are done. I don't give a fuck about these goddamn movies. I mean, look, realistically, I'm probably going to watch the next two, number 9 and 10. I'm not going to watch any more of the Hobbs and Shaw movies because I hated this one so fucking much. At least I never hated any of the Fast and Furious movies. Like Too Fast, Too Furious, which I think is the worst. That in conjunction with Fate of the Furious and Furious 7, all three which I think are quite bad films. I didn't hate. I liked them. I at least was entertained. I was never bored, I was never angry, I never thought this is too stupid for my liking, because realistically they're all dumb films. And I just didn't enjoy Hobbs and Shaw. I know people who did. Arguably it's a perfectly alright film if you enjoy it. And it's a perfectly alright film if you go and sit and you're like, yay, big explosions, muscular men clashing heads because they all like sucking each other's dicks. Woo! I guess the one thing I could say about Hobbs and Shaw, I liked Vanessa Kirby. She was great. I actually had a friend complain that there wasn't enough of her being sexually exploited because it's like the trademark of these films that you have a lot of shots of women's asses. And, I mean, even Gal Gadot has her famous scene in Fast 5. And it's like, yeah, they just didn't do that to Vanessa Kirby. It's kind of weird. They can do whatever the hell they want, she's getting paid as long as she's happy with it, which I think most of the women in this franchise are like, my ass is going to be on screen, but I'm getting paid $500 for it. Eee. I don't know, probably more than that, let's be honest. So, yeah, there is no point in me talking about the plot of these films, because it's not relevant. The first three, people drive cars, rob shit, police get involved. 4, 5, and 6 heist films, and then actually 4 and 5 are heist films. 6 is a heist-like but mostly action film. 7 has a heist element to it, but again, just a big action film, and 8 is just revenge action film. Let's steal this thingy that makes the thingy go thingy. Yeah, so that's what I said when I didn't know what the hell to talk about when it comes to Fast and Furious films. Because honestly, what the fuck do you talk about? What hasn't already been said? There's nothing clever about these films. They're just dumb action films, but I like some of them. I'm not against having bought this franchise set with all 8 of their films. So, yeah. If you have not seen any of the Fast and Furious films, go ahead and watch them all. At least I'd say watch the first 6. If you really want to watch 7, go for it. But you're allowed to have 7 be your last one. You do not need to watch 8. Trust me, you don't need to watch it. It's bad. I would personally skip Too Fast, Too Furious, but at the same time, it has elements that are pretty decent. So, Tokyo Drift is worth it. The Fast and the Furious, the first one, of course. You gotta watch the first, you gotta watch the second one, you gotta watch the third. Fast and Furious you have to watch because you need that narrative that continues for the next 2 films. Fast 5 is just fun. Furious 6 is just a blast. Furious 7 it's alright. Fate is just yickety yickety yak. I don't like it. And Hobbs and Shaw is just something else. Thank you for watching my TED Talk on Fast and Furious movies. I'm going to go have some lunch because my throat hurts from talking about Fast and Furious movies. What a beautiful day outside.